Welcome to this new how-to. In this how-to we're going to look at how you can configure the flight plan manually in an aircraft. And that's the Diamond Aircraft Delta Victor 20. And it's located in an airport in Canada, or in British Columbia, right? So that's a part of Canada. And we're located at Stewart Airport. So let's go inside the airplane. The airplane is currently fully shut down. As you can see, it's really snowy outside, so a lot of snow. So let's switch on the engines and make sure that everything is okay. Gonna switch on the avionic masters, because that's what we want to do. And if you don't know how to start the airplane, you can always use the checklist, right? So you can use the before and after checklist. So you can check all these things. Press the buttons here to go to the, I would say, item which you need to set correctly. So the props needs to be set to max, which is the case. And then we can set the electric pump to on. Choke to full, which is the case. It says fully full. And then we can start the ignition. And then the aircraft will come to life, right? So the engine is now started. You can see the rotor is turning, and now we did that. It's time to set up the flight, right? And that can be done using say this nice Garmin GNS 430. As you can see, currently no flight is being set, and there are a few buttons here. So let me zoom in a little bit further. And the button we're going to use is the FPL button, which stands for flight plan. And as you can see, there's no active flight plan configured. So there are two ways to configure a flight plan. It's either by, say, specifying a direct destination, and you can do it by pressing the set direct course, and then, for example, push the button here and then switch the button here, or turn the button here. So this button, just like many other airplanes, has three functions. The push one, as you just saw, I pushed it to activate the cursor. Then we've got the small knob, which you can use to change the character, and then we've got the large knob, which you can use to move the position. We're gonna switch to the next one. Just gonna show you how you can do this piece. And the aircraft or the airport we're gonna fly to is Prince George. That needs to be Shera. And the cool thing is that based on this, right, you can already see the information about the airport. You can see, okay, hey, this is the airport, this is the destination of the airport. And once you're happy with all the stuff, you can press enter, and then you can press enter again, and that will activate the flight plan. So now when we go to the flight plan, you will see that, hey, the user waypoint, which is the waypoint we currently are, and then it has the Stewart or Prince George Airport, which is 280 miles from us. So here's the cumulative distance, and here's the distance between the user waypoint and the next one. So this is one option. Now of course we want to clear all the stuff, so we're gonna press clear. So I hope that it could press clear, but it doesn't work yet, so let me do it another way. We clear everything from the flight plan, and the plan is that we're now gonna define the same flight but with some waypoints in between. So we always start with the airport which we depart from, which in our case is Stewart Airport, which is Charlie Zulu Sierra Tango. So Charlie Zulu. Sierra. Tango. Here it says Stewart, British Columbia. And then we're going to press enter to accept. And then we're going to move to the next position. And in the next position we're going to add the next waypoint. Now you might ask yourself, hey, how do you come up with those waypoints? Well, those waypoints, you can collect them or you can find them using multiple ways. One way is to use the flight planner in Flight Simulator 2020, right? By default it's set to direct GPS flight, but if you change to VOR or go to the IFR flight, for example low or high altitude, that will show you the waypoints. So if you know them on a paper, then you can later manually configure them in the active flight plan in the aircraft. Of course, there's also the option to accept the built-in flight plan information from Flight Simulator itself, and then it will automatically configure the flight plan. Another way is to use, for example, Simbrief or onlineflightdatabase.com, which allows you to configure the flight, and once you've noted that down, you can use those waypoints also to configure your flight. So based on that, the next waypoint is APRIP, so Alpha Papa Romeo India Papa. So we're gonna change the letters here again. APRIP. Whoop, one back. APRIP. Yeah, looks okay. So we're gonna press enter. We're gonna move to the next position using the large knob, and then we're gonna specify the next waypoint, which is Devon. So Delta Alpha Victor Oscar. Oop, a little bit too far. Devon. I'm gonna move to the next one. Oop. Set the next one. And the next one is Debma. Oop. So we can stay with the D from Delta and then go to the A, E from Echo. And Debma, we're happy with this one. I'm gonna move to the next position. Here you see that it's, for some reason it's added Devon twice, so we can press clear and then it removes that one. I'm gonna use Igmus, so India Kilo Mike Uniform. Whoop, set uniform. Sierra, and then last but not least we add the destination airport, which is Charlie, and Yankee X-ray last one Sierra, and hit enter and press the button again, and then we're done. Then we've got our flight plan configured. So to jump back to the main screen, simply click FPL again, then it will show the first, I would say, leg, so from Stewart to APRIP, and once you're at APRIP it will continue with the next one. Besides that, you can see the total distance of the flight. I need to make sure that I'm saying it correctly. No, this is the distance between APRIP. Let me go to it here. So from Stewart Airport to the first waypoint is over 200 miles. Then 3 miles, 26, 16, 15, and then we're there. So be aware of that. It's I would say a nice flight. Here's the direction, right? So the direction and the bearing of the waypoint. It can be used if you want to fly manually using VFR. In some cases, but in this case you can't do it. You can configure the what is it called? The Autopilot, right? And as you can see, if we open the VFR map, it has set up this information already for us. So that's nice, right? So what are other options? Well, there's not a lot of options here on this navigation system. So for example, the SID, right? The instrumental departure route, or the star route, the terminal approach route. That's not an option here, as far as I could find out. However, now I say it, they're there, right? Just hit the procedures button. So in this case, what we're gonna do is we're gonna activate the button, and then we're gonna say, okay, hey, we want to set the departure, and then we're gonna press enter again, and then you can see that there is no departure. That is in some cases true. For example, if you're flying from a small airport or to a small airport, they simply don't have those procedures ready. So let me see if the other airport, the approach one, here you can see, so Prince George has an approach. So it has an approach of ILS 15, but also NDBs and airnavs, and you can navigate to them by using the large knob. So let's assume that we're going to use ILS 15. We're going to press enter here. Then we've got the transition, and the transition is always told to you by the ATC. Again, here you can you sometimes have multiple options. In this case, we've got 2 options, but sometimes there are 3 or 4 options. So, for example, if we select Yankee X-Ray Sierra and then press enter, and then we're going to say load, because if we say load, then it will simply be added to the existing flight plan. If we say activate, then it will be activated also, and that can be done, for example, if you're flying and then you configure the approach, and then you can directly activate it. Here's also the option, right? So we're not going to do that now. So we did, we configured it, and then we're going to say load. Load, fine, and then we're going to go back to the flight plan. And what you see now is, if we would activate the flight plan, is that the ILS approach is added after the airport. So what I recommend you to do is go to the last waypoint, delete that one, and then it will automatically fix the flight plan in most cases. In our case, we're unlucky and it didn't fix it. So let's go again to the procedure button, select the approach. Now we screwed it up completely. So let me re-add. Re-add the airport. Luckily it's here. So I'm going to say enter. Then I'm going to go to procedures again. Select the approach. And then we're going to say, okay, hey, we want to load the approach, but we're not want to activate it yet. So that will be added to the waypoint list. So what you need to do when preparing your flight is you need to decide, okay, hey, when are we gonna switch to the approach, right? Because in most cases, when you're at the airport already, it sometimes, if you're assigned an approach, you will need to fly back because this waypoint might be earlier on the route, so between DAPMA and CIXS in this case. So let's open the VFR map. We can see it. Most cases you can see it. So you can here see. So in this case, here's DAPMA. Then it go to YXS and then to Kina Voles. So in this case it goes correctly. But what you sometimes see with other aircrafts, for example the A320, is that you're, I would say, here. Then you will be assigned an approach and a transition. Then it will first fly back and then we'll continue with the approach, so be aware of that. So in this case everything is okay and you could safely take off. Then once it's at DAPMA, it will fly to YXS, so it will skip the airport itself, and then we'll make the approach. So this is the star route, right? It's the terminal approach route, and then we'll make sure that you're landing at the correct runway, right? So you can see it. So runway 15. So it's ILS. So then, if that's the case, then you will approach ZXS, and then you will nicely take the approach here and land on the runway successfully. So this was everything about the configuring the flight plan in this aircraft. As you can see, although the system looks really small, it has all the options which you really need. It has the options to configure a flight plan, it has the options to configure a procedure. The only thing you're missing is the autopilot, but yeah, in a small aircraft like this, that makes sense. Here ends this flight, or here ends this video I should say, because we didn't fly. I hope you liked it. If you liked it, then consider to use the like button. If you've got questions or comments, then use the comment box below the video. And if you want to stay up to date about new videos I'm posting, then consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks for watching and see you next time.